Formula One preseason testing for 2024 is already over, and those 3 days in Bahrain have revealed key innovations and tech improvement teams have made for 2025. There's so much to talk about, so let's unpack all of the details, especially look at what sort of improvements McLaren, Ferrari, Red Bull, and Mercedes have made. The first car I want to talk about is the Red Bull, because it is sort of a mystery car from every angle. This RB21 to me looks awfully similar to last year's RB20, which made me think if for this season Red Bull actually went with a B-spec car similar to the 2021 season. But taking a closer look at the car does reveal that every single surface is different to that of the RB20, which last ran at Abu Dhabi. Externally, the RB21's concept looks almost identical, but the important changes Red Bull has made is under that bodywork. We got a good photo of the car's cooling system, and we can see so many differences between the cooling system's layout of the RB20 and the RB21. For the first 2 days of preseason testing, Red Bull were not running with any cooling louvers on its engine cover. But on day 3, the team introduced a revised engine cover with a totally reworked cooling exit duct. The exit louver is massive, even when compared with the ones Ferrari have. Also looking from this top-down shot, we can see Red Bull have squared off the body panel around here. It shows to what extent Red Bull have reworked the car's cooling system layout to reprofile the external aerodynamic surfaces. Alongside that, Red Bull introduced a brand new front wing spec which had its front nose cone attached to the second element. This creates a slot gap between the first two elements, which we know will aid in dictating cleaner airflow towards the underfloor. Moving on to Ferrari next, Ferrari throughout the preseason testing session was seen developing their car, trying out new concepts. Looking at the SF25 when Lewis Hamilton was in the cockpit on day 2, Ferrari were testing out a different cooling solution on the car. From the rear, you can see Ferrari have got very similar cooling system exit layout to that of the SF24, but the shape and size of the coolers side to side is quite different. You can clearly see that the cooling exit on the left-hand side is not quite smaller compared to the exit on the right-hand side. This is what we call an asymmetric cooling layout for those who do not know it. And this layout usually means the team has tinkered the car's cooling system layout where whatever is in the side pod's right-hand side is slightly different to what's on the left-hand side. But earlier I saw the SF25 with symmetric cooling exits, which shows that Ferrari are playing around the car's cooling similar to Red Bull, trying to gain performance. Mercedes are playing around this hump once more around the front of the car. They have been working around this element for some time now since they introduced it last year. But throughout this testing week, they had this duct, which is supposed to be the driver cooling duct, actually blanked off, coloured in black, similar to what we are seeing in this picture. As if they want us not to spot it, creating an almost fake duct. There are some pictures which actually show with that driver cooling duct open, but the size of that duct is way smaller than this black void Mercedes are trying to cover up. That hump is right on top of crucial suspension mounting points, which could be a key area of interest for Mercedes. But is that giant hump massively open for driver cooling? Or are Mercedes actually doing something interesting underneath all that carbon fibre, playing with the front suspension geometry? Mercedes also tested 2 different front wing specifications. One had the nose cone attached to the first element, and the other specification had the nose cone connected to the second element. Seems like Mercedes are working out different aero solutions to see which one works best for the W16, similar to Red Bull. One difference in the W16 that interests me a lot is looking at the side pods. Mercedes have abandoned the water slide completely, while other teams are still running from that, varying between light to extreme versions of it. Not clear of the reasoning behind it. Probably Mercedes feel the downwashing ramp should be enough to manipulate the airflow towards the car's rear end maybe. Aston Martin also tested 2 variants of front wings, with the nose on one connected to the first element and the other connected to the second element. I actually don't have any clear images to show here, but the second spec front wing has a small central support here, a bit like what we saw on last year's AMR 24. But what's more exciting in this car is a little further backwards near the car's cockpit, to be exact. Covered cleverly by this sticky uppy Cobra wing is a small duct under the halo. Is it for cooling? Or what other aerodynamic purpose this duct is serving? We don't know. But with a significant asset from Red Bull joining Aston Martin, I can see how the Aston Martin is taking more influence from the Red Bull concept. Looking to the side at the mirror support, you can see this nicely machined piece of metal connecting the mirror housing and the stay. Many teams are and have been playing around the mirror housing and supports to influence the car's overall drag. Looking at the back of the car, we do notice one more interesting design detail around the shark fin area. We can see that Aston have introduced a stepped shark fin design, something that I have not seen any team do in Formula 1 to date within the current set of regulations. Looking next at the car covered by the papaya wall, literally, the MCL39 had some interesting solutions applied which we did not get to see during the car's shakedown, particularly around the car's front suspension. The steering arm on the front suspension of the MCL39 appears to be placed midway between the upper and lower arm controls. The position of the steering arm has both mechanical and aerodynamic implications. Aerodynamics being how the wishbone placement dictates airflow to underfloor. Mechanically, the steering arm change alter how a car feels to drive in terms of traction and predictability. Not sure what McLaren are chasing with this suspension layout actually. I'm open to hear your ideas in the comment section. Looking at two shots of the McLaren's rear, we can see two styles of cooling louvers. While the one on the right seems to be conventional, the one on the left is asymmetric. Could be an aero influence, but it mostly seems like the carbon has overheated a bit and deformed temporarily, which could mean the PU was running hot and McLaren encountering some reliability concerns maybe. Looking at the Sauber car, again it is more and more interesting as teams tinker around the wing mirrors. For the C45, Sauber has done something different to the mirror housing, adding this widget to the winglet itself which will generate a clear outwash effect. Finally, a dream shot for an aerodynamicist, cars covered in Floviz paint. Let's just take a close look and enjoy the beauty. So that's a wrap to testing, and we have around 2 weeks until the season opening Australian Grand Prix. Hope every team got enough data to crunch through for the next 10 days or so to prepare for the first race. I think McLaren will be leading the grid this season. I will be doing a rankings video next, but before I reveal my rankings, do share me with your preseason test team rankings in the comment section down below. And on your way down, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to get notified of our future uploads to keep yourselves up to date about the 2025 Formula 1 season.